Welcome to Coastal Conversations, the weekly podcast from Coastal Church, where we explore meaningful topics that shape our daily lives as followers of Christ. In Colossians 4:6, Paul encourages us to let our conversations be full of grace and seasoned with salt so that we can respond wisely to everyone. Through this podcast, we aim to live out that calling together. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Coastal Conversations. Today, this season has been so impactful for me personally. Every single guest we have had on has been so encouraging, and today is no exception. I really appreciate your time today, tuning in and listening to these episodes. If any of these episodes ring true to you or they just really impact you, would you mind doing us a favor and sharing them with a friend, maybe a coworker, a family member that you think it will impact as well? Well, on today's episode, we have a very special guest with us today. This month at Coastal Church, our greater missions giving emphasis has been on nonprofits, organizations that specifically target or are around women and girls. And today we are going to focus in on learning more about Project Rescue, this wonderful organization that specializes in the rescue ministry. And we're going to learn all about that and what that has to entail. So help me welcome today's guest, the executive director of Project Rescue, Jennifer Barrett. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to join you guys on this podcast. Excited to be here.
Well, for those that are unfamiliar with Project Rescue, how would you describe your mission and the heart behind your work?
Sure. Well, our mission is to rescue and restore survivors of sexual exploitation through the power of Jesus Christ. So we work with women, we work with girls, and we work with boys. Anyone who has been forced into sexual exploitation in any part of the world. And our goal is not just the rescue, but the full restoration. So there's a lot that goes into that we'll talk about, but that's really our heart.
That's so awesome. Yeah, you mentioned full restoration. Project Rescue emphasizes holistic restoration. What does that look like in practice, and why is it so critical for survivors to have holistic restoration?
So we have been doing this for a really long time. Project Rescue started in 1997, so I think around 28 years ago now.
Wow.
And over all these years, we have really seen that you can absolutely rescue women and children out of difficult situations. But unless they are restored, body, mind, and spirit,
Mm-hmm.
the likelihood that they will be re-exploited or the likelihood that they'll end up back in the life that they were rescued out of is very high, because you can take them out of the brothel or out of their difficult situation. But unless Jesus heals their mind and heals their emotions and how they see themselves, and unless they really grasp their identity as a child of God and what God wants for them, they are still very vulnerable to going back. And so for us, we see them as a whole person, right? We are all whole beings,
Right.
and God cares about each of us. He does to just be in a safe place. He cares about our heart. He cares about our body, how we are feeling. He cares about our health. He cares about our emotions, our mental health, and he cares most about the state of our heart, our relationship with him. And so for us, everything that goes into the care for these survivors hits on all of those parts of them.
So you're actually taking them into centers that you have around the world, and
So
mhm.
Yeah, sorry. So it looks a little bit different everywhere we're at. We're in
Okay.
16 different countries. And so
Wow.
we do have a lot of safe homes, especially for children. The safest place for them is going to be out of a red light district where they're living with their mother or out of a vulnerable situation. And so we have safe homes for them where they will grow up with house mothers and other children around them in a family like atmosphere. They'll go to school, they'll go through our program, and they'll be with us until they graduate, go to college, and are able to be on their own. In other parts of the world, say in Belgium, we work with women who are in the red light district. We don't have a safe home. Our our process is more, we have a cafe on the edge of the red light district where the women can come. We start to build relationships with them. We start to disciple them, help them find other work, other jobs, get them involved in a local church. And so that restoration is not happening in a 24-hour home, but it's still happening in a
Hmm.
way that works for that area.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about human trafficking today?
It's a good question. We're thankful that there is more awareness of
Yes.
trafficking than ever before.
Hmm.
So much about it in the news. There's so many really good movies about it, but those movies do show just one version, right? And
Right.
trafficking happens in so many different ways. So it doesn't always look like The Sound of Freedom. It doesn't always look like Taken.
Wow.
And so I think a lot of people see it as a lot of undercover operations and banging down the door and rescuing and snatching and grabbing women out. And for us, that's not the way that it works most of the time. We
Wow.
always say we do relationships, we don't do raids, because
Mm.
if we do a raid, if we go into a community, a red light district, a club, beat down the door, grab women out, we can never go back there again. We're done in that area. So we really play the long game. We move into a community and
Mm.
establish relationship. We do work sometimes with police. In some countries where we work, it's not possible to work with police, but when we can, we do. And so we'll work with them to try to rescue women and girls, but it is not the real exciting, intense
Right.
grab them out and run, out in the cover of night. It's not usually like that. It's a slower process, becoming integrated within the community, building those long term relationships, being there when there's a chance for a woman or child to come out, and then we walk with them to full restoration.
Because I would imagine if it's always the snatch and grab type raids, the trust would not be built behind the scenes, for
Correct.
for those women to even trust, okay, are you another person taking me somewhere else?
Absolutely. Because unfortunately, in some of the countries we work, police and government are complicit. And so when police go in to do a raid, a lot of times they will be re exploited right away,
Right.
right even out of that police station. And so for us, it often looks like we start a coffee shop or we start an outreach center in the heart of a red light district. Women start to come on their time off
Mm.
and start to build relationships. We offer classes, vocational training. Um, Once they begin to trust us, once they begin to open up, we'll share about Jesus, we'll have discipleship classes. And so then in that moment, they can say, well, my daughter is here with me growing up in the brothel. Can you take her to your safe home? Or maybe that woman gets sick and her trafficker is like, I need someone to give her medical care. I don't have money to give her medical care so she can get well again and keep working. So we'll be there to
Mm.
give her that medical care. And maybe through that process, we can get her to a safe place and she doesn't have to go back. So sometimes it takes longer, but that trust is the most important because
Yes.
again, we can get them out, but unless they trust us and there's a relationship
Mm.
there, they could run, they could go back. And so our goal is not just to get them, our goal is to start that process of healing and
Yeah.
restoration that really does take a long time, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, it sounds like to me too, you guys have to have the discernment and the wisdom of God. And like Proverbs talks about witty inventions to get into some of these places. And
Yes.
and like God give us witty inventions so that we can go and do and what do we do a coffee shop in this one? Do we do, how do we minister to this brothel in this specific country?
Yes. And
Um,
it's so
yeah.
true because things change, they change all the time, but especially after COVID, things change.
Mm,
Like in some European countries, we used to be able to find parts of the city where women were on the streets. And after COVID, they all went in to
wow.
either clubs or apartments where we couldn't find them. And so we have a team now that goes online to find ads for girls, and they show up at apartments as as like a health team, and they offer free HIV testing and other kinds of testing for the women. And
Mm,
traffickers want to make sure that, the girls are clean and they can still be selling them. And so they'll have them come in, and then they'll be able to have a moment with a girl and say, do you want help? Do you want out? So it's true. We do have to keep asking the Lord just to help give us good ideas.
Yeah, that's so interesting. What
Yeah.
are some of the greatest challenges you face when trying to rescue and restore someone caught in trafficking? What are some of the greatest challenges? And it may be different for each location, like we just talked
It's
about.
I mean, it's really true. There
Yeah.
are so many different challenges. Again, just finding them can sometimes be a challenge, because access to them is, changing and different. And so we need, wisdom and guidance for that. But then I, I think going back to that misconception question that you
Hmm.
asked earlier, I think a lot of times people can assume that once a woman or child comes to us, that they're just thankful that we
Mm,
rescued them and they're ready to go. That's not always the case.
mm-mm.
Sometimes they've grown up in that dysfunctional environment where they might not even see themselves as a victim. And so they might be looking at us like, why did you take me away from my home?
Yeah.
Why are you putting me in this place where I don't know anyone? And then once they really do start to work through all of their trauma, the people that they lash out at are the people that are the closest, and
Hmm.
often the people that are trying to help them. So that that journey is very challenging. It's often, like two steps forward, one step back. But the the staff and the leaders that work with us are called by the Lord. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. And He really gives the strength to sustain them through the challenges and through the difficult days.
What role do partnerships with local churches like Coastal Church play in the work of Project Rescue around the world?
I mean, it's pretty simple. We could not do it without you.
Yeah.
um, you know, the church is what allowed Project Rescue to um, become a ministry 28 years ago.
Hmm.
And the church has been the thing that has fueled us all of these years. I mean, we'll meet business people who want to be involved. We'll try to get government grants sometimes, but so often what we hear is you talk about Jesus too much.
Mm,
If you just tone down the Jesus part, we could get you a lot of money. And we're like, that's why we do
yeah,
this. We can't do this without Jesus. There is no hope for these women without Jesus.
that's
And
right.
so we can't ever take that out. We can't tone that down. And that's why the church is so important in this, because the church gets it. And the church, we are an extension of the church,
That's
right?
right.
And so partnering together, we're able to bring God's hope to the darkest parts of the world.
That's right. And our giving through Greater here helps you guys go to places that we would never be able to go and helps us to rescue people that we would never be able to rescue. And one day in heaven, we'll be able to see all the impact that our simple, just above and beyond giving does. We have to have that, like you guys said, for your ministry, that long-term view, that not temporary view of things, but that long term view that my giving has eternal impact for
Yes,
Project Rescue and ministries just like it. That's so great. Can you share a
absolutely.
story of restoration? Maybe, I know you can't share names specifically, but maybe a story of restoration that has stayed with you, a life that has been transformed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. We've got so
Yeah.
many that I love to share, but I'll share again. I can't say her name, but we've got a young woman in a country in Europe who was sold into exploitation. She was trafficked from Africa, came up. She thought she was going to Europe for a better job.
Mm.
She, was told that she would be a nanny or something like that, and she could send money back to her family in Africa. She hit the streets of Europe and quickly discovered what she was going to have to do. And so, night after night, customer after customer, she was forced to kind of repay this crazy debt that they said she owed for her passage to Europe. So she was there for several months in a really difficult position. And then
Mm.
the police actually found her on the street one night and asked for her papers, her identification, and she didn't have any because the traffickers had taken it. And so they recognized the situation and were able to contact our safe home that was there locally. And she came into our program, went through our program, started taking classes, started going to university, and she has now graduated. She's found a husband.
Oh,
She's had
wow.
a baby girl and is now working with our safe home. So
Wow.
that for us, I think is it's one of our favorite things when, we want women, children to go through our program and to dream and say, what is it that God has for you? What do you
That's
want
right.
to do? But it is really cool when they say, I feel like the Lord wants me to help women who are in my situation, help women find the freedom that I have
That's
found,
right.
And so for us, it's like hope coming full circle. So I love that story.
That is so that is so awesome. I love that. And that is the true holistic full journey
It's true.
of what God does in our life and through our life when he changes us. Well, I appreciate your time so much. I don't want to keep you for very long. I know you guys are super busy, but at the end of every podcast, we always like to ask a fun last question. And that is, what is one of your favorite things that you think needs to be our favorite thing? Now, it can be a book, a podcast, a restaurant, a food, a hobby, anything that's on your radar that definitely needs to be on our radar.
Okay, I'm a little embarrassed to say it.
Uh-uh.
And it's probably something that you all have loved in the past. I'm just gonna like bring you back to your
Okay.
first love. Um, I am obsessed with Hershey's chocolate syrup. So
Okay.
just like chocolate milk, I could drink it all day, every day. I don't actually need food. I could just exist on chocolate milk alone.
Just okay.
And a lot of times people will look at me and like, how old are you? I think we're supposed to give that up when we're 10. I can't give it up. It's so good. And I think that some people say there are some health benefits, possibly like after a
I
workout or something.
mean,
That's,
protein, we can
yes,
go there.
that's what they say. I don't do it for that, but it's kind of a comfort food for me. But man, just like milk and Hershey's chocolate syrup together,
Do you
maybe
have
a
to
little heavy
have
on the
do
chocolate
you
syrup.
have to have the milk with it, or can you just like put it on any like ice cream, or is that
So
just your main thing is the milk and the
absolutely.
Hershey?
Like I do love the milk. That's my favorite. But
Okay.
I mean, on ice cream, yes. Even like when I make brownies, I put a little extra chocolate syrup in there.
Okay.
It can't
You're
hurt.
fully
And it only
committed. You need a sponsorship.
I really
You
do.
need a sponsorship. That is great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. You know what? That does bring you back. That's nostalgic,
Nostalgic.
but that's a great fun thing, favorite thing. Thank you for sharing it with me. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for being our guest today. We are so honored to be able to partner with what you guys are doing at Project Rescue, literally rescuing women, girls and boys around the world and giving them the hope of Jesus. What better way? I can't think of a better thing to send our greater giving towards than projects like this. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for the time you put in, the prayer you put in. It really is just so wonderful to see what God's doing through Project Rescue. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for your generosity, for your giving. And if anybody is interested in being a prayer partner, they can go to our website and sign
Yes.
up to be a prayer partner because monthly we'll send out like specific prayer needs.
Okay.
And that's what we need to. We always need prayer. So
Yeah.
we're just so thankful for your church and for your giving.
That's awesome. We will put a link to their website in our show notes, everybody, so that you can go to the show notes and just click on there. It is a wonderful, very informative website. It's got videos and pictures and locations. I love just when I was researching, just looking through their website is a very, very helpful website. So you'll make sure that you go there and begin to put them on your prayer list
Mhm.
every week. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Coastal Conversations. Do not forget that this week, if you're listening to this in real time, is Easter weekend. I mean, we are super excited. Don't forget on Friday evening at 6 p.m. at your campus, we have our Easter egg hunts. If you're at the Daphne campus, we have 100,000 toy and prize-filled eggs. You want to get the golden one because that gives you a free trip to camp, kids. And if, I almost said girls because we're talking about girls, kids. And if you are at our Bay Minette campus, do not forget about the Blacklight Easter egg hunt. with the Easter Bunny being at both locations. It's going to be so much fun. Friday night, 6 o'clock. Then on Easter Sunday, we have 3 service times here at the Daphne campus, 8, 9:30, and 11 a.m. And then your same times at our Bay Minette campus. Thank you so much for tuning into Coastal Conversations today. We cannot wait to see everything that God is going to do through our greater giving to Project Rescue. Thank you for being obedient. Thank you for listening to the voice of God when He taps on your heart to give above and beyond your tithe. We love you, Coastal. Have a great week. We'll see you right back here next week. Thank you for listening to this week's Coastal Conversations podcast. All of today's references will be found in the show notes. Also, if you enjoyed listening, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. We'll see you at Coastal this Sunday as we pick the conversation up from here.